So Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center, and this next interview, presentation of the Vancouver Canadians. The Canadian season came to an end this past weekend. We mentioned as they fell in the Northwest League Championship Series in 4 games to Spokane, but it was a great year at the Nat. We want to thank the Vancouver Canadians for partnering up again this year. The 2025 season will get going in April, and information on season tickets coming soon. As always, check out CanadiansBaseball.com for updates. Here he is, former Vancouver Canuck TSN hockey analyst, Mr. Frank Corrado. How are you?
Good. I had a good time at the Nat like many, many years ago. I think they took us there during development camp to watch a game. So it's been a while, but I remember it being a fun time.
Have you ever faced a fastball? Have they ever put you in the,
No.
You could hit one?
No. There's no way I could hit a fastball. You think you could?
No, not a chance. No. But
no
you
way.
might have at one point in your career tried to tip a point shot from somebody else, and that's how different.
See, I feel like I could tip a shot because I'm just trying to get a piece of it, but to like square up on a fastball,
right.
I don't think there's. You could throw 10. I might make contact on 2.
Yeah.
They say hitting a fastball is one of the hardest things to do in all of sport.
Yeah.
And, of course, the great Tommy Lasorda line. Why do the golfers need silence to hit a stationary ball? And my guy's expected to hit a ball breaking on 2 planes with 40,000 people.
Stop
screaming.
it. I can't deal with that line. That is asinine. Like in golf, if you slice it, you're screwed. You're getting a double bogey. If you foul one off in baseball, guess what? You got another pitch coming your way. So the margin for error
Good retort.
The margin for error in golf is way slimmer than baseball. You could be standing at the plate for 10 minutes. Foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, ball. It's like you don't get mulligans off the tee. You're in the water, you're taking a penalty stroke, and you're screwed.
Yeah, you gotta state that last sentence one more time for Matt. You don't get mulligans off the tee.
You do in our group, Frank. You should come play with us.
Oh man!
And I mean, I would say take it up with your paisan Lasorda. Alas,
yes,
take it up with his estate.
Yeah.
Tell me about your old teammate Alex Edler.
Oh man, I mean, the video of him playing for the Canucks over the course of his career really does speak for itself. But always a very quiet, poised individual, super, super nice guy. I remember I played my first NHL game. He was my partner, and I was really, really nervous. But I think, he really had a calming influence, just kind of being around him, being on the ice with him on the bench. And just a very, very classy guy that, I think a lot of everyone respected him, what he did on the ice, how he conducted himself, just a first-class individual through and through.
We so rarely, if ever, saw outward passion, intensity, anger. Like there were not a lot of emotions with this guy. Did you ever see any of that? Did the fire burn in him and just wasn't outwardly demonstrated? Talk to me about that.
It's funny because, it never felt like that was the case. Like, I don't think I ever really saw him get riled up. But sometimes he would go out there and he would clock someone with a massive hit.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, where did that come from? Because I think I just saw the guy like 2 seconds ago and he was, very calm and stoic. And, then he goes out and makes a big hit. So the fire was definitely there. I don't think you can be that good of a player for that long and not have that fire. I just think he was so good at maintaining a level of calm and having that stoic look. And I think that really did serve him well, almost like the epitome of never get too high, never get too low. And that was, I think that's probably a big reason why he was able to have the career that he had.
Really thoughtful guy, really smart guy when you pulled him aside and chatted with him in the rare moments when he would, in the rare occasions we do that, because he certainly wasn't a go-to for quotes or anything, and oftentimes wasn't in the dressing room. But when he was and he wanted to talk about something and he had the time, he was terrific. How talkative was he with his teammates? Didn't strike me as the type of guy who like went up to guys starting conversations very often.
Well, he's very, very friendly guy. Like he would talk to everyone. He's and this was the case for a lot of those guys in Vancouver. Like it was a very friendly room, very welcoming room, and he was obviously a big part of that. Like say good morning, see you later, all that kind of stuff. If you ever had a question about hockey or wanted to talk, like he was always always very willing. But I think with certain teammates, you could see him maybe open up a little bit more. Like I think if he was hanging out with the Twins or maybe Yannick, like there was you could see there was that level of friendship that was just another step above. But I think he was really such a pleasure to be around all the time, and really made a point of being just being able to be talked to. Basically, I remember. Actually, there was one time I was on the team and he was coming back from injury. He was coming off the IR. And I think Sully looked over to a few of us. He was like, Eddie was practicing and he looked good. And Sully goes, "Oh, there he goes. He looks like $1 million, like can't wait to get him back in the lineup." And I think I said something to Sully. I think it's 4.5 million actually. And he chuckled at that. But that's he always just looked so smooth and made a lot of things look very easy and had the big booming point shot. And he was just a mountain of a human too, like a big guy. And then you get him on the ice with those, like with his pants on and his shoulder pads, like this guy's really big. And I just think like he maximized a lot of what he could. And really good player and really, really nice guy to be around.
His downfall might have been that he can do everything, and yet he didn't every night. But in the end, he is the points leader, the games leader, the goals leader, the assist leader currently. And Quinn's going to obliterate probably a lot of these in the not too distant future. But that's where it ends. If you said that about any other player on any other franchise, is it safe to say the jersey's hanging in the rafters?
I mean, it's a very compelling argument for sure. I think it comes
for
down
a 50-year-old franchise, right?
For sure. And I think that's where, the national kind of spotlight maybe works against a guy like him, where, I don't think we ever spoke about him in the grand scope of defensemen in the league, like never talking about a Norris, never really talking about like a top 10 guy, but within that organization was always looked upon as the go-to guy for a long time, or one of the go-to guys for a long time. And of course has a lot of these records to show for it. But I guess, what he means to his organization compared to what some other people might mean to their organization is swayed by the, just never really getting the national spotlight or recognition among the league's best, or the league's top tier of players at times.
Does he belong in the Canucks Ring of Honor then, Frank?
So, like this is something that gets debated in Vancouver all the time, right? Like Luongo's number probably should have been retired, right? Like that should have been it's in Ring of Honor, should have been retired. So they're doing the Alex Edler night. Does that mean he should have been Ring of Honor at least? Like if you do that math, then everyone's these two guys are a tier lower than they should be. Yeah, he probably should be a Ring of Honor guy. Like how many years did he play for the team? Like it's 12, 15 years with the Canucks and all these records. Like I don't know. I feel like that definitely is worthy of a Ring of Honor, because like I just mentioned, like, for what it may have lacked in national spotlight or, around the league, maybe not being considered in that top tier 1A, as far as the Canucks go, he is. He's always had the spotlight. He's always had the recognition, and he has the accolades to go with it. So I don't think, if you put him in the Ring of Honor, I don't think you would get one Canucks fan that said that guy is not worthy of it. Like I think you would have a unanimous decision for sure.
And Matthias Ohlund are both there, and they weren't the player that he is.
No, and just because this night is happening doesn't mean he can't later be put in the Ring of Honor. I'm not sure the book is closed on honoring Alex Edler by the Vancouver Canucks permanently at Rogers Arena. even beyond this game against Philly on October 11th. Okay, let's move on to the current club. First of all, a word or two about Dakota Joshua, what he announced yesterday, or what the club announced yesterday on Dakota's behalf.
Listen, I think it's a reality check for a lot of people that life can change very quickly, and the other thing is to make sure that you are on top of your health and making sure you're getting things checked out, because you don't know, and you want to make sure you catch things if they come up. And we're obviously all thinking of him, and hopefully everything's okay and he's back on the ice sooner rather than later. And it goes beyond the conversation of, how do they replace him in the lineup and all that kind of stuff. Like health and something like this is first and foremost. And I think obviously good for him for catching it, and hopefully he's able to move on, and hopefully we see him back out there, as soon as possible.
The Canucks and we have to believe, said this off the top, we have to believe that he's going to be okay. That's certainly the messaging that's going to be there. So I think we can, with relative guilt-free conscience, move on and talk about the hockey permutations of that. And truth of the matter is, there is depth there for however long he might be gone. And it might be 2 games, it might be 15 games. We'll find out later on this afternoon, probably from Canucks management. But this team knew about it earlier, and you wonder if it guided their hand a little bit in terms of their forwards acquisitions in the summer. The fact that they've got some depth now that they can make a go of it for however long he's gone.
Well, I think all of a sudden the Sammy Blais PTO makes a little more sense. A team that was flush with a lot of wingers, or a lot of the same type of guy, maybe lower in the lineup, like that makes sense. Phil DiGiuseppe makes a lot of sense, and even if you take a look at lower in the lineup, like Kiefer Sherwood, like a lot of these guys are just they're guys that can be plug and played, for the time being. So they will have solutions. The thing with Joshua is he was so good last year, and I think that that leaves a taste in your mouth where you're like, well, how much better can he get this year? Can he push the envelope a little bit more? Maybe he can push to be a player higher in the lineup, and that certainly is still on the table for him. But I do believe they're in a position where they're well equipped to handle not having him for the time being. But there's no doubt you want that guy in the lineup, because what he was able to do last year when he kind of put it all together with the physicality, the tenacity, getting in guys' faces, the confrontations to add with the skill and the scoring touch, that's a nice little package that he really put together. And I think, myself and a lot of Canucks fans are really looking forward to see him building on that, and maybe becoming one of the league's players where you talk about him and you're like, that is a guy I do not want to play against. One of those guys that you say, I hate to play against him, but man, I would love to have him on my team. And he certainly has the makings of that.
Well, and his goals per game, his goals per 60 are even better than his just stats as you look at it on the back of the playing card. He makes the most of every minute he gets out there.
Yeah, and that was the thing last year with that third line. Like, for whatever ice time they were getting, they were really, really productive. They spent so much time in the offensive zone, and things really seemed to gel that way. And I guess, when I don't know if you have the conversation of, at some point getting Dakota Joshua higher in the lineup, like what does that do for whatever line he would be playing on? Like, it's nice to know that there's a guy who could be a little bit of I hate to use this term sometimes, but like a play driver, like someone who can say like, I'm going to make sure we're playing in the offensive zone this shift, because I'm going to disrupt something on the forecheck, and I'm going to turn a puck over, and now, get some more skilled players, playing in the offensive zone more than they would have. Like, I just think there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of potential for a player like that. And that line and him specifically, like they did a lot with, I'm not going to say a little, but they didn't have, at times the most ice time to work with, but they really made it work when they
Alex Burrows to the Twins, right? And not that he doesn't have the speed of Burrows and it's a different player, but it's the same idea. Is he could benefit from playing with a guy like Elias Pettersson. Maybe he's the off wing guy for Elias Pettersson.
Different than Burrows in the sense that like this guy will hit you, stare at you in the face, then proceed to punch you in the face after taking off his gloves and squaring up with you. Where I think, Burr had that physical edge for sure, but I don't know if he was going to necessarily square up with you, and then
He left the
probably beat the wheels off you too, because like this guy, like he's big, he's strong, and like I just think he's one of those guys like you just don't want to mess with a guy like that too often. Like he packs a mean punch, so he's not as my old coach Travis Green would say, he's not a bluffer. That was always a term he used. Someone he would let us know on who on the other team was a bluffer or who wasn't.
Yeah. By the way, did you catch up with your boy Di Giuseppe this summer? Did you talk to him, see him at all?
No, I didn't see him. See, the thing is now I'm not training anymore, so I'm not at the gym. I'm not at the rinks, unless I see someone at a bakery grabbing an espresso or grabbing a veal sandwich. There's just, there's just not a lot of time to catch up with guys.
Breaded veal sandwich that we're talking?
Double breaded when you're retired.
Double breaded. My goodness. The only thing that Frankie is catching up on these days is sleep when the Twins keep him up.
Yeah.
This management group and coaching staff a little bit. And Alvin has already challenged both Besser and Pettersson this week. He said of Brock, he thought he took his foot off the gas after he got to 30 goals. Could have had 50 instead of 40 last year. With Pettersson, he said, I definitely need him back to another level. What do you make of how candid this group has been with its expectations and pushing even further on some of their best players?
I like it. Like I'll even go as far as to say I love it. And I think last year in Dakota Joshua is a great example of that, where Rick Tocchet was very blunt and very honest, not only with him, but outward in the media about what his expectations were for that player. I think as a player, all you can ask for is give me the honest truth. And I may not like what I hear, but it's probably what I need to hear at that time. And you know what, if that's how management feels about Besser, if that's how they feel about Elias Pettersson, that's probably how a lot of people feel about it. So, there's nothing that frustrates you more as a player when you're kind of just getting buttered up. It's like, hey, it's all good. Keep it going. You'll get there, this and that. It's like, no, man. Like sometimes you just need to hear the truth. And I think, as a player, if you can kind of face that head on, it's so much better for you than hiding from it. Because if you hide from that, you'll hide from other criticisms, or you'll hide from watching your own video when maybe you're not playing well because it hurts you to watch it. It's like, face that kind of stuff head on, and you can only ask for transparency and honesty from your coaches or your management group. And if they're willing to give you that, I think it shows that they think highly of you, they care about you, and they care about the team. And that's really all you can ask for as a player. I'd rather have it straight up and honest than give me the run around and butter me up, and then after I don't see something coming. Like, let's
what about the
honest
distinction that
right
is
from the
public
get-go.
though? What about the distinction that is public and not just behind closed doors? Because you could draw the line there.
You could, for sure, but I think when done properly, it's okay. Like the fans in Vancouver specifically are not stupid. Like they know that Elias Pettersson had better down the stretch. Everyone kind of realizes that. So if the GM is not acknowledging that, people might start asking questions like, well, what the hell is this guy talking about? Like, we all see it. How do you not see it? And I always think like when, if you talk to the player about it and you have that honest conversation, there's nothing wrong with just saying like, hey, here's where we're at. We know we need better from this guy, and we know we can get better from this guy. It's not like you're going out there and saying things that are demeaning or degrading. You're just kind of spitting the facts. And I think that's okay when done in an honest way. I think the fans can appreciate that, and I think the player can appreciate that once you decide that you're willing to face that head on.
Alvin says the practice habits still need more consistency. How do you receive that? What do you make of that? I mean, it's 2 years in, a year and a half into the Tocchet tenure, and he's still pushing on practice habits.
See, I don't know. Maybe I got to get down there and watch a practice. But like when people are harping on practice habits, it's usually pretty straightforward. Maybe you don't stop and you do the big flyby and grab another puck when you mess up in a drill. Maybe it's not as physical when you get into some of the 5-on-5 or the 2-on-2, the 3-on-3 battles. Maybe guys like still will overskate pucks or, not sharp to start practice. Like that's all the kind of stuff that people would talk about when they talk about practice habits. But I kind of look at it this way, like, coaches are not keeping you on the ice for an hour plus in the NHL. Like, really, what you have to do is think about it. It's probably 40 to 50 minutes. You probably get a couple drills to warm up and get your hands going and get your feet going. Then you'll ramp it up into like some kind of, 2-on-1 into a 3-on-2 drill, into like some 5-on-5 stuff, do some special teams, maybe a little bit of battling. And that by that time, practice is done. Like, it's not hard to be good in practice. Everything is set up for you to be good in practice. So I don't know. I think not that it gets overstated, the importance of practice, but it's like the easiest thing that you could possibly clean up as a player. Like, it's literally just paying attention in a little bit more and kind of just giving a shit a little bit more about, how you execute in practice. And I think coaches appreciate that extra effort. Ultimately, you could be a great practice player and be terrible in the games, though. So if you're going to pick one or the other,
True.
just be good in the games.
I see that happen all the way down to the junior level, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've just encapsulated Blake's career. He's great in the games.
There's
Give him
some
a game,
guys.
he's outstanding.
Some guys, it's like their practice, they're barred down and they're flying, and then in the game, it's like, was so and so playing today?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
was probably one of those guys. I was a good practice player, really good practice player, totally irrelevant in the game sometimes, but it's all good.
As we watched Matt and his playing partner at golf on the driving range, me and my partner, Mike Coghill from Yellow Dog, Mike said, practice, the crutch of the ungifted. We proceeded to win every hole from there on in.
No, we won one.
See, I look at it this way with golf. Like, I don't want to waste any good shots on the range. I might roll a few putts, and then I just want to hit the good shots on the course, because I think there's only so many of them when you're not a professional.
And when you're your age, you're right. When you're our age, it starts to change,
right,
and you need lubrication in the joints.
Right.
You sure do.
Yeah.
You sure do.
Yeah.
Frankie, love that you give a shit on this hit weekly. You're great at it. It's a game, and you step on up. Appreciate this. Until next Wednesday.
Listen, I don't warm up for these. I step right up to the first tee, get a high cut.
You don't do voice exercises?
Red leather, yellow leather.
You don't do scales? La, 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 la.
Yeah, not yet.
Thanks, man.
See you, boys.